Post-traumatic stress disorder, also known as PTSD, is an ailment that afflicts primarily veterans returning from combat. It is estimated by the Veterans Administration that as of 2014, 20% of veterans who served in Iraq and/or Afghanistan suffer from PTSD. Veteran suicides have also become a great concern for the VA. As of the most recent study released in 2015, 20 veterans a day commit suicide. The symptoms of PTSD can create adjustment problems when veterans who separate from the military return to school to seek secondary education. These symptoms could make it difficult for the veteran student to cope in an educational arena. Men and women struggling to make a better life for themselves can face barriers when pursuing that education. Christina Bass, a clinician and recruiter for the Center for Brain Health at the University of Texas in Dallas, says that post-traumatic stress disorder is a neurobiological disorder where somebody's brain and entire nervous system has been impacted either by being in an environment of chronic threat or being exposed to overwhelming physiological, emotional, or psychological events. The brain and nervous system, overwhelmed, are unable to process the past trauma. As a result, the emotional response tied to the past events is interjected into the present, meaning the person frequently relives and responds to the past. While all veterans who return to college do not suffer from PTSD, those that do find dealing with the after effects a challenge.
I think the biggest thing is to remind myself that, where I am when something kicks off. Remind myself where I am, that nothing's going on, everything's fine, everything's secure, everything's straight, I'm good to go. I try to avoid right there next to the door. I try to stay kind of blended. So if this makes any sense, I try to be in the middle of the crowd, but not amongst the crowd. I try to be away from the door. In a situation, if something was to happen, I guess, I could respond and, have the zebra around me to kind of provide cover.
At Angelo State University, there are several ways that veterans are assisted in coping with the after effects of combat and PTSD. The Veterans Educational and Transitional Services, also known as the Vet Center, is one area on base that makes veterans feel at home.
Currently, we have 206 veterans enrolled at Angelo State University. So these are the ones that are using their GI Bill and their other, both federal and state, educational benefits as appropriate to pay for their education. Here at the Vet Center, we have worked very hard to build a wonderful environment to help students, especially our veteran students, and especially those who have been heavily involved in combat operations and their last tours. When we think about here in the last 15 years, all of our troops have been either on combat deployments or they've been in incredibly high ops tempo environments. So our environment here in the Vet Center is one that we hope kind of pulls them away from that, gives them the social and academic support that they really enjoy, and kind of gives them a place to come out and hang with that band of brothers that they built during their time in the service. In terms of how our troops reflect PTSD, I think it comes in a mixed bag. So it appears that we have a lot who are very open about PTSD. I think that's become one of the trends that probably is the most positive in recent years. So they're open about it. They know that they suffer from it. They know what their triggers are. They really appreciate having an environment where they can come in and talk to others that feel that way. I think there's different ways that we reflect. Certainly we have a number of our students who are using service dogs, therapy dogs. We invite them to come in. We've worked very hard to establish those protocols across the campus so that they can have those service animals with them. Are there some who don't talk about it and don't admit to it? I'm sure that there are.
Faculty here at ASU also strive to ensure the student veteran feels comfortable in the college environment.
So let's say that a person comes up and says, I have testing anxiety. Okay, What if we put you in a different room where there's no noises, it's quiet, and you can take the exam over the course of an hour and a half as opposed to 45 minutes, right? But then I think you also have to just be aware of the nuances there, because maybe a student doesn't want to be removed from the classroom because then that would bring attention to them, right? So that's where it's very critical to have a conversation with the student that basically goes along the lines of, hey, what can I do to help you and accommodate you? Here's some suggestions. I don't mean to offend, but if you have counter suggestions, I'm all ears.
We have the Americans with Disability Act, and mostly those students who have disabilities go ahead and they present us with the things that they need to be able to cope in the classes and to do their work. And so we follow those guidelines to the letter, making sure that we can make whatever accommodations we can so they're successful in class. Well, usually we can approach it in a lot of different ways, and the main thing is to find out how to ease the anxiety. It may be a situation where the person wants to be isolated when they take their test, or it might be a situation where they want to have more time with the test. As long as it's reasonable accommodations, yes, we can go ahead and do pretty much anything.
Both Ms. Williams and Dr. Klingeman believe that information and communication is key to the success of the veteran college student.
I think one of the most important things for our soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines coming from a combat environment to do is to talk about their experiences. You know, where they've been, what they've done, find that band of brother, that comrade in arms that they, you know, may or may have not known out in the field and that kind of thing. But obviously to talk about it. The things that we hide are the things that get us. It is a normal thing. It's happened in every war, in every conflict since the beginning of time. You can't go through those kinds of things and not be affected. The secret to it is communication, communication, communication. And so if we can get them to feel comfortable and open up about it, sometimes that's all that they need. If they need a little deeper help or a little longer term help, we're here as long as it takes. We also have counseling services across campus that we can direct them to. We work very hard with the Texas Veterans Commission and all the Wounded Warrior project. I believe it's based there in Houston is one that we tap into. So we have the world at their disposal if they'll just let us know what kind of help they need.
Have a conversation if you feel that it is, you know, if you want to. We never want to violate someone's privacy, right? But, you know, as a professor, I'm open to those conversations. I'm not here to judge. I'm here to educate. And so if a veteran feels that, you know, that let's say that they're comfortable talking with their professor, I think that's where a lot of it starts. Is, you know, do you feel comfortable enough talking to your professor and confiding in them or telling them, you know, I suffer from PTSD, really, you know, I want to be successful in this class, what can I do? Because, and then, you know, there's a flip side to that too. You know, maybe students don't want that attention. You know, maybe they don't want that attention. But I think it does start at least with a conversation, okay? Because as a professor, like I said, you can't just look out over the crowd and say, oh, this person's a veteran, this and this and this. You know, you never want to stereotype, right? And so I would encourage any veterans that your education matters, okay? First and foremost. You know, you're a veteran, and, you know, there's the respect that comes with that from me for veterans. So if the person feels comfortable, I think it starts with a conversation of what can we do that will assist you in being successful in this class.
The military veteran college student can be successful in the educational arena even when suffering from the effects of PTSD. Counseling, developing coping skills, and communication are just 3 of the means the veteran student can use to thrive in academia.